it's Christian without being preachy.
Welcome to the Wordsmith Forge Christian Fiction Podcast, where we explore the stories behind the stories and meet the authors who are forging powerful works of clean Christian fiction. Today, I'm joined by Jason C. Joyner, a science fiction author who writes exciting, fast-paced stories designed especially to capture the imagination of young readers, particularly boys and young men who are looking for action, adventure, and meaningful themes in their books. Jason lives in the high mountain desert of southeast Idaho, near Yellowstone and Grand Teton National Parks. By day, he works as a physician assistant at a national laboratory, and by night, he builds fictional worlds filled with heroism, faith, and purpose. In our conversation, Jason shares about his walk with Christ, the inspiration behind his young adult superhero series, and why he believes stories can be both entertaining and spiritually meaningful. We also talk about the importance of clean fiction, the challenge of reaching young male readers, and how the gifts God gives each of us can be used for good or for something else entirely. If you enjoy discovering Christian authors who are writing exciting, family-friendly stories, you're going to enjoy this conversation. So settle in and welcome Jason C. Joyner to the Wordsmith Forge Christian Fiction Podcast. Audience, won't you welcome Jason Joyner to the Wordsmith Forge Christian Fiction Podcast. Jason, we're so glad that you had time to meet with us. Would you mind telling the audience something about yourself?
Yeah, thank you for having me. So my name is Jason Joyner. My author name is Jason C. Joyner, and I live in southeast Idaho, and I have a wonderful wife and 3 boys and my sweet daughter, and we live in the high mountain desert area of Idaho near Yellowstone and Grand Teton Park, so it's a great place to get out.
Yeah.
By day, I'm a physician assistant for a government national laboratory, and at night I do things like help at my church and write fictional worlds.
Now, do you wear a cape at night?
My wife frowns on it. I get too big-headed with it.
Yeah, I can just imagine mild-mannered physician assistant by daytime. We could have a lot of fun with that.
Oh, you bet.
So what is there around where you live that you like to go to kind of recharge your batteries? What's your favorite place?
There's an area called Palisades Reservoir, and it's over in the Targhee National Forest. And so there's lots of hikes there. If you keep going past Palisades, then you get to Jackson, Wyoming. And that's a fun place to wander around for the day. My family and I will go whitewater rafting sometimes. Skiing in the winter, although this has been the driest winter I can ever remember. So I haven't gotten out on my skis once.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. That is a beautiful part of the country. So I have some maybe unusual questions, but it's one that I ask all of my authors. And by the way, I think you're about number 53, 54 author. And that doesn't sound like a large number, but when you start talking in book circles, Christian fiction circles, finding male authors becomes kind of difficult. So you're a bit of a rare find. And I only interview males, Christian fiction authors that write clean Christian fiction. So that makes you even a little more rare. But my questions, what are 3 of your favorite songs?
3 of my favorite songs. Well, one of them for a long time has been Meant to Live by Switchfoot. Just really love the message of that song. And now you've put me on the spot. There's a band called The Choir and I always get the name of the song a little bit mixed up. Who You Think I Am. And it's a great song. The chorus has this dichotomy of, I'm a good Samaritan and I'm a very wicked man. It just talks about how, we try to do good but we have, our mistakes and things. And the version with Lee Nash from Sixpence None the Richer singing on it. It's such a great song. And, what's another one? One of my hype songs right now is called I Believe by KB, and it gets played through on my workout mix, and just a Christian rapper that does, great job with his songs.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with any of those, so I'll have to look them up. I'm glad that you had some things that I don't know. It gives me something to look forward to. How about your 3 favorite movies?
Well, as you might see by my background, Star Wars,
yes,
is one of those for sure. As we talk about my books, this one will make sense. Avengers, Infinity War. I thought they did a really good job of pulling in all these different franchises or parts of the Marvel universe together and weaving that complicated story. And I've always liked Dead Poets Society, just the heart and the meaning behind that.
Yeah. Would you mind sharing with us your walk with Christ?
Sure. I live in an area that's not, being an evangelical Christian is a real minority, and there's great people out here, but they have different theological beliefs. And so growing up with that, I had to decide early on, okay, what is it that I believe? And so in high school, we had a good solid youth group, and that's where I say I really became on fire for Jesus. I got saved when I was in 3rd grade, but really started to say, okay, I'm going to make him my Lord and Savior. And I started walking with him. And then right out of high school, I had a couple of full ride scholarships, but I chose to go to do a mission program with a group called Youth with a Mission. And so I did a 3-month lecture phase with them where they talk about the nature and character of God, the Bible, evangelism, prayer, cross-culture ministries. And then we went on a 2-month outreach to Thailand. And that was really life transforming because it helped show me that, there's a bigger world out there. There's different ways to do things, but people around the world love Jesus and worship him, and the need for talking about him. So missions has always been something I've supported, and I've got a son right now that's full-time staff with Youth with a Mission. I also did their School of Biblical Studies, so I did a 9-month inductive Bible school where we just went through the Bible book by book. Basically, we went through the Bible 5 times in 9 months. And again, that was just so foundational because you get the Bible in the context and get it deep in you, and it's still providing fruit for me today.
I'm sure. My wife and I are very excited for our grandson who's going to Iowa State. And he is right now raising money for a missions trip.
Great.
And we're just over the moon. Nothing can warm the cockles of a grandparent's heart than to see one of their grandchildren just be sold out for Jesus. So have you always been a writer?
As I've thought about things, when I was a kid, I told stories with my toys. I just didn't drive my Hot Wheels around. There was a story going on, and
there was a purpose.
There was a purpose. G.I. Joes and Star Wars figures, and always telling a story with them. So then when I got into high school, I had a writing class. Well, first of all, I had just had an English teacher. I had a creative writing, like just a paragraph or two, and she said, well, you're good with description and things. And so that made me, okay, think about that. And then I did take a creative writing class and started writing some stories then, and some stories for fun. Then between doing my stuff with Youth with a Mission and then going to college and getting started with my career, it was too busy. Just there's too much going on. And then when I got established in my career and the family was going on, I'm like, I remember writing stories, and I started writing a few short stories here and there. And then I got to the point where I thought, would I be able to write a novel? And it took me 7 years to write my first novel. And I finally had to learn to turn off my internal editor and just let things go and get it done.
Yeah. Right. Was that the first book of your series launch?
No, it was a suspense series about a medical student that discovers that her missionary brother was found dead in Thailand, and she goes to investigate the cause of his death, and it deals with human trafficking and things. I haven't published it yet. I think about, okay, is this one that I go back to and publish down the road? Or a lot of writers have their suitcase or dresser novel. That the first novel they wrote is the one that teaches them how to write a novel, but it's not one that's publishable. So I think about it from time to time, and just depends on, how things go.
I understand. It has to be something that moves you. Something like that, you don't just say, well, I've got to do that. Yeah. It's got to be right. So was there anything that just moved you to writing Christian fiction?
Being a Christian for so long, it's part of who I am. The worldview permeates me. And so the stories that I came up with initially had that aspect. With my suspense book, that the brother of the main character was a missionary. So I got to weave that in naturally. And then my young adult superhero series, which is my first set of books published, the inspiration was thinking, okay, Samson had great strength. Elijah, he outran a chariot one time. Nowadays, we'd call those superpowers. Yeah. So what if God gave those to teens today to fight a growing evil? So I don't always plan on writing explicitly Christian fiction. It's going to be a flow of what, where I'm going and things, but there's always going to be an aspect of that I'm going to keep. I'm going to, I've made a pledge to myself, because I've gone to homeschool conventions to sell books. It's like, even if I don't write something explicitly Christian, I'm going to write it clean. I'm going to keep the swearing out. I'm going to keep, sexual things out, and violence is going to be, PG-13 type of movies. So yeah, it just was kind of natural, how it's flowed out so far.
I don't understand how a Christian could write anything without it being a Christian fiction book, or at least fitting into that genre, even though they don't label it as such. I had one author tell me that when you put Christian fiction on something that goes through Amazon, you're pretty well declaring you're not going to sell any books. But what you describe is what some women were saying they were looking for on, like, avid readers of Christian fiction Facebook page. And that is kind of why I started this podcast, because as we talked, male Christian fiction authors are somewhat rare.
They are. I went to the American Christian Fiction Writers Conference in 2012, 2013, and it was probably 80% women there, and lovely ladies, great authors, wonderful people. But the guys, we found each other and kind of huddled up and connected. And I made connections then that, still friends and people that we encourage each other now. So, and then I started going to a conference called Realm Makers, which is a speculative Christian fiction. So that means it's for sci-fi, fantasy, paranormal authors. Right, yeah. Everybody writes something a little bit weird that isn't like prairie romances and things of that nature. Yeah. Nothing wrong with those, but that's not necessarily probably what your audience is looking for.
No, I don't think so. Was there any biblical truths that seem to ground the books that you write?
Yeah, I think a big one is the idea that the gifts and callings of God are irrevocable was a verse that I kind of hung my superhero series on. My feeling is that we're all given gifts by God.
Yes.
Gifts, talents, spiritual gifts, different things like that. And it's up to us to choose what we're going to do with them. So, you can have somebody who's really gifted in leadership, speaking out, encouraging people, but they could use that to build up an empire for themselves. They can use that to, for corrupted ends and things. Or you can choose to use it for the glory of God. You can choose to use it to, to be a blessing to your neighbors. So that's kind of a theme that runs through my superhero series.
Yeah. I think one thing that people that have special gifts, such as writing Christian fiction, one of the problems that some people may have to deal with is, am I writing this for God or am I writing this for me? A lot of our audience is looking for books that will connect with young boys and with men as well. And of course, that doesn't exclude the females that enjoy reading them. Your books will certainly connect with the younger audience, the younger male audience.
Yeah, that's part of the inspiration when I was looking for my next story idea after finishing that suspense novel. I had a couple of ideas and trying to decide which way to go. And I was able to fly back from one of those writing conferences on Southwest. And so an author friend, because it wasn't assigned seating, she sat by me and we talked through some ideas and helped me brainstorm. And it was this young adult superhero idea. And my boys were starting into their teen years at that time. And they were, they liked to read a lot and they really enjoyed the Marvel movies. And, we'd grown up with stories of Superman and Captain America and noble heroes like that. And then you start getting into, the anti-heroes and things. Like I never encouraged my kids into something like Deadpool because it's pretty foul and profane, just kind of ugly that way. And so, I enjoyed writing something with a lot of action, adventure, and then geeky references, having fun with that, throwing in a Star Wars reference here or a comic book movie reference there. So I had a lot of fun with it. And I write with fast paced to keep the boys' attention, to help them keep turning pages. The neatest thing that happened to me is I had this mom came to me at a writing conference. I had just won award for best debut author at the Realm Makers Conference, the Realm Awards. And my main character, his name is DeMarcus Bartlett, and he's an African American, and he's a speedster. So he's got the super speed. And she happened to be talking to me just because we were there. And then because I won the award, she started flipping in the book and she came running back to me. He's like, why did you write this book? And I'm like, well, because I wanted to. It was fun.
Yeah.
You don't know how much this means to me. She has adopted 3 Black children. And for her son, she's like, I can't believe that you wrote, an African-American hero, the main character. And she gave that book to him and it became his favorite series. And, that's why you write it. I mean, if it was just for Caleb right there, that I wrote that series, it was all worth it.
Right. Well, you'll just love to get feedback from readers like that. That's great. I think it would sharpen the faith of that young man and others.
Yeah. In the books, there's the 3 books launch. There are 4 teens that meet at an influencer conference. They get invited by this tech billionaire to a conference, and that's where they find out other people have powers and they've got to choose what they're going to do. And this billionaire wants to use them for his own purposes. And then after that, in the second book, Fractures, they live near each other. So they're trying to navigate high school life, family life, and, we've got superpowers. And, I show them making mistakes. They're not going to live perfect lives. And so some of them are fun misadventures. Some of them have consequences. And there's, this, not only is this billionaire trying to get back into his position from book one, there's another group coming up has nefarious purposes for them. And so then in book three, everything culminates and you get this big cinematic conflict at the end of the book. They have to deal with consequences of their mistakes and learn how to get past them. And honestly, one thing that was surprising to me was, I'm not meaning this in a weird sense, but how prophetic book three was, because one of the things that happens is the bad guys they're drawing from people's anger to help fuel what they're doing. And I finished that book up in 2019, 2020. And to see, the anger that people have on both sides of the aisle, just, we can't talk to each other anymore. There's, back and forth. And it's, that's a theme of book three is, the trouble that causes for us and, and possible ways to get through it. So it's like, oh, gee, that book has a timely message.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we certainly have some discord in the nation. I was talking to a Nigerian author, and it just struck me how all the way over to Nigeria, and we started off a little bit awkward. I had a hard time understanding him. I had to get used to how he pronounced words and things. And he was probably doing the same thing with me. But by the middle of the interview, he and I were both just interacting comfortably. And afterwards, I thought, if everyone would just bend the knee to Jesus, we'd have world peace. It'd be fantastic. But
no, absolutely.
Sin came into the world, unfortunately. Is there a particular Christian author that shaped your writing early on?
I would say Frank Peretti would be big, and that might be cliche because he's kind of the granddaddy of especially speculative Christian fiction with that out there. But his books came out when I was in high school, and I remember reading them again and again, and then getting to hear him talk live. And he's as dynamic of a speaker as he is a writer. Yeah. And so, yeah, he's somebody that I've looked up to. I also really enjoyed early Ted Dekker stuff. His style of the suspense and building that up is something that I appreciate. I write with a lighter tone than Ted Dekker does, but I really appreciate that page turning style of it.
When you were writing your books, was there a lesson that God taught you?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, it's perseverance, sticking with things, and trying to find balance. I have, a lovely wife and we've got a busy household, and she gives me grace to take time to write books and things, but I have to find a balancing act of giving her time and not taking too much time for something like this. Especially her love language is quality time spent. So I have to, say, okay, my story might be bubbling in my head, but my wife and my family are still more important. And making sure you balance those things it's not only a lesson then, it's an ongoing lesson.
Right. I'm not sure I want my wife to see this episode.
Uh-oh.
Well, yeah, we have, it is a balancing act. And, if I spend too much time in the morning, then I try to make it up in the evening.
And it's living life. I mean, my wife, we talked about this the other day. She said, sometimes I feel like you try to check your Becky box and, that's not what she wants. And, like you said, trying to make up for in the evening when the morning you were occupied with things. And as guys, I think we get focused on something. So whether it's, we've got a project out in the shop, or we're planning for, going on a hunt or a fishing trip, or, just whatever creative instance, I see your guitars in your background and practicing your music or doing things, whatever we're doing, we can get focused in on that. And, in general, women are going to be more relational. And so needing to keep up with that and just not, let the focus get off of them. And then ultimately it leads back to our relationship with the Lord as well. I can check my quiet time box, on my commute to work. I've prayed, I've listened to the Bible, I listen to Christian podcasts, but did I really enjoy the presence of the Lord that day?
Yeah.
And, that's something that, I'm always battling, because you just can get busy with the day and think, okay, I've got all these other things, but what's the first thing?
Yeah, I think of Martha and Mary, and Martha's in the kitchen getting things ready, and Mary's at Jesus' feet. Where should we be?
Men can be Marthas too.
Oh, definitely. I, we pull our drawer open, and whatever we're in there, we're doing that, and our wives have got this variegated yarn that has all kinds of different colors in it, and she's on this discussion thread. We're in this drawer, and she goes from one color to the next. We say, "Wait a minute, I got to close this drawer. Let me open this other one. Oh, you're
Yep.
back on that one. Let me close that and get that one back out." So,
A lot of times I can follow my wife, but sometimes I'm like, okay, I don't see the connection on that one. Let's back it up a little bit.
Yeah, let's go over that again.
For sure.
If I think some people are kind of skeptical about a book, as I think we talked a little earlier, because it's Christian fiction. Do you have one or two sentences that you could say to a skeptical man that says, "Well, I'd rather read James Patterson or some other famous author"?
Well, the good feedback I've gotten back is there's a couple things. I've had a couple of parents of dyslexic kids come back and say, "Man, your books really were able to capture my son, my kid, when reading isn't the easiest thing for them."
Right.
But it's Christian without being preachy.
Yeah.
So I try to keep it in the context of things. Again, the teens make mistakes. They get things wrong, and there's a lot of action adventure. I tend to see things cinematically. I'll see the pictures in my head, and then, okay, well, let's try to put that on paper, but also keep up that action and tension going. So those are things that like part of the feedback of my writing is, yes, I'm not going to be ashamed of the message of the books and that Jesus has a part in it, but it's first of all telling a good story. I mean, I think Jesus was the master storyteller, and God was the ultimate creator. And so that's why, you said earlier, Christian fiction, anything written by a Christian is Christian fiction. And I agree. I use the term explicitly Christian because those books, they do have explicit Christian content. But, if I wrote something that didn't have that, it would still be Christian because I'm reflecting, the creator.
Exactly. Yeah. I like to remind people that Jesus was a Christian fiction author before the term Christian was coined.
Yeah.
As his parables are Christian fiction, some of the best Christian fiction that was ever written. You have to consider the author, I guess.
Absolutely.
In your books, you got these kids with superpowers, but do you relate to any of your characters? Are you in the book?
Not as specifically as some, but certainly part of you as an author comes out of it. And there's a character named Harry, and he can teleport like Philip in the book of Acts, was in one place and he appeared somewhere else. And that was the inspiration for his superpower. And in the beginning of the book, he doesn't really understand what happens. He just says, all of a sudden I end up somewhere else and it freaks me out. And his journey is one of self-confidence, of learning, okay, I can do this thing and I can become good at it. So yeah, Harry is one that I can identify with in that sense. And DeMarcus, his mom was a single mom. his dad was in prison, and so he had a real strong sense of protecting, standing up for women, setting up for his mom. And then there's two girls in their superhero team, so he stands up for them as well. And that also stems from my dad died when I was young, and so
really?
Feeling like, okay, I have to watch out for my mom and help her out too. So that was an aspect of DeMarcus that came from me as well.
Yeah, understandably. Is there anything that you would, if you could teleport yourself back in time, is there anything you would go back and tell your younger self?
Yeah, as a sci-fi author, you start thinking about all the time travel paradoxes and all those sci-fi shows you see with those episodes. But I think, that it, you encourage them I encourage myself to say, hey, things work out better than you can imagine, and you're going to go through hard things than you would have predicted, but God is faithful through it all. And, that your family stands with you. And so, that's a good question.
I'm kind of bouncing back and forth here, I feel. As you were writing, was there anything in your story that surprised you? For example, one of your characters takes a left-hand turn without using his turn signals, and you have to keep writing to see where he's going.
Absolutely. I'm a hybrid writer. In the writing world, we have terms. We have a plotter and a pantser, or discovery writer. A pantser meaning he's right by the seat of his pants. Yeah. So I'm kind of in between. So I have a sense of how the story needs to start, and I have different waypoints along the way, but I don't necessarily know all the starting points, how to get there. And so those are the parts that I have to discovery write. And as I'm going along, then I go, oh, okay, this is where it goes. So specifically in book 2, I had the two guys in my superhero team, DeMarcus and Harry. They're out patrolling. They're like, okay, this is what heroes are supposed to do. And they help this woman, and she was just there to be helped. Except she said, well, no, because I'm an investigative reporter for kind of an underground news story. And what just happened here? These kids that were here, they teleported away. And so she became a recurring character because she just added to the tension that she was now investigating what's going on. So not only do they have bad guys here and there, but they've got this reporter on their tail. So just one more complication. Yeah. And certainly you write yourself into situations. I mean, I had so much fun with book 2 because I got the characters established in 1, and now you're just like having fun. You're getting, okay, you get to play with all these things. And then in book 3, you're like, shoot, I have to land this plane. I have to bring all these threads together. So that's definitely part of the writing process for me, is saying what just happened, and now how do I get myself out of this mess?
Yeah. Your remark, land this plane, almost anything will remind an old man of some story. But along with land this plane, I guess I hadn't thought of it as applying to authors. In fire incident management, we're fighting wildfires, things like that. There was a fellow that said he was on the health attack crew, and so he worked with others. And he said all takeoffs are voluntary, landings are mandatory.
I can see the logic of that. I can appreciate that.
And so you say, wow, this is fun. I'm going to have my character do this. But he's got to land somehow. And you figure that out.
Yep, exactly.
And it's also a truism in life. You can say that thing that you want to say to another person, but you're going to have to live with it.
That is true, too. Always good to think about it before you blurt it out.
Yeah, that's to do. Is there a key message you would like readers to take away from your books?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, as a writer, you hope people are entertained by it. I mean, if you want to gain truth, you listen to a sermon, but you read stories to be entertained. So that's the first goal, is say, okay, I do want people to be entertained, but there's different messages and themes that kind of run through the books. And in book one, it's okay, what are you going to do with your gifts? Are you going to choose to go? In book two, it's more of the same, but recognizing, there's going to be temptations. What are you going to do when you mess up? And in book three, there's a strong message of forgiveness and not giving in to the anger of the day, and saying, okay, how do we work together to bring things to a close, bring things together?
How do you engage with your readers?
Yeah, I always enjoy engaging with the readers. I've gotten a few there. I don't blog regularly anymore, but I've gotten comments there. Social media, I'm open to that as well. And yeah, I like interacting with people, and especially when my audience is young adults. So it's going to be kids, teens. I mean, my book can be adults and whatnot. And I've gone to homeschool conventions, and I've gone back where somebody was like, yeah, I bought your first book and now I'm so ready for the next one. I'm so excited. That's just so fulfilling as an author to know that, somebody enjoyed the work. So yeah, I really enjoy it, and I invite it.
So the web page that people can go to?
Yes, it's Jason C. Joyner, JOYNER.com. And Jason C. Joyner is my, is my name on Instagram and Facebook as well. So you can definitely.
Where can they find your books? I suppose on the web page, or the same address you just gave.
Yes. So at my website, and so if you buy directly from me, first of all, it helps me out more as an author. I get more of the profit than the big A to Z guys. And if you order from me, then the books are signed. I send some swag with them, a bookmark or something fun that I have. But it is available, Noble, things like that.
And they can go by title or by Jason C. Joyner on Amazon.
And I'll give a specific shout out to, the bookshop as a website that they order from independent bookstores. So you're not corporate entities, but more individual bookstores, and they can get my books as well.
Great. Well, as we went on, is there any message or anything you'd like to say to our audience?
So yeah, for dads listening to staying the course is huge, and showing that good example to our sons and daughters, because they're watching us. Now their 20s, they're starting to get married and have no grandkids yet, but we're waiting for that. We hear that.
It is, and, yes.
It's heartwarming to have, a couple of weeks ago, my son that's married, having a conversation, he, saying how things that he appreciated about what we did, my wife and I. So that was really heartwarming, because in the midst of it, it can be hard. You're not sure if they're paying attention, and you realize, and so our kids are watching us. So we need to fight the good fight, stand strong, and then also be willing to apologize. That was actually something. Look, when you made a mistake, you came and apologized to us, and we know that, people have seen that. And I got it from my dad, and there are good Christian authors out there that are writing fiction for men. There's a particular publisher called Enclave Publishing. They publish a lot of sci-fi and fantasy books, and so yes, readers for women and girls, but they definitely have a lot of things that are out there for boys. And if you write to me and say, hey, I need some recommendations for men authors, then I'll send that to you, because I have a lot of male author friends writing group that's men and women and encouraging each other, and some really good authors in that. And we cover a variety of things. So I bet you or your son would enjoy.
Great. Yeah. And I think anyone that is homeschooling would certainly include your series if their children are at all interested in sci-fi type books.
Yeah. Try to keep it friendly for the homeschooling audience. I mean, everybody's going to have their standards, and there's, comic book movie mayhem that goes through, because I'm a romantic at heart, and so I couldn't resist. But it's all clean, and it's not that the character, but yeah, try to make, like I said, make it exciting, make it an entertaining story. But I'm always going to try to something that homeschooling families can feel comfortable. It's like, okay, even if it's not explicitly Christian, it's going to be something you can entrust to your kids.
I do want our audience to be able to rely on the Wordsmith Forge Christian Fiction to bring them the authors that write clean, and any books that they write will work in their families if that's what they're looking for, is clean books. Well, Jason, I really appreciate the time we spent together. I appreciate you taking time away from your family, your busy life, sharing it with our audience. So you mind if we go ahead? You were going to say something there.
Oh, yeah. I just know I really being open to having me on, and it's been a great conversation.
And if I pray for us?
Oh, absolutely.
Thank you. Our Heavenly Father, we just thank you for the gifts that you give us. For we are empty vessels until you fill us, and give us good things. You inspire us. We try to take what you give us and produce something that. I ask that you watch over Jason and his family, his young boys, and I just for them to bless him with some grandchildren, because I know he'll love them. That'll be good. So just go with us throughout this week, and we give you all the praise, God. Thank you so much. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Jason, it's been great talking to you, and perhaps we'll talk again in the future.
No, I really enjoyed it. Thank you again for having this platform and this conversation, no matter what. So thank you.
Great. It's certainly enjoyed talking with you. So take care.
Okay. I think my daughter just came home.
Ooh. That's. I hope you enjoyed this conversation with Jason C. I did. Jason reminded us that great stories can do more than entertain and encourage young readers to think about how they use given them. His superhero series explores themes of responsibility, forgiveness, and choosing the right path. And as always, if you enjoy these conversations with Christian fiction authors, please subscribe to share it with a friend. Your support helps more readers discover the wide range of clean Christian fiction being written today. Jason, I hear from you. Leave a comment or send feedback about the episode. What stood out to you? What questions you have? What authors would you like to hear from next? I try to respond where I can. Thanks for joining us at the Fiction Podcast, where we continue forging connections between readers and the authors who are shaping the world of Christian fiction. Until next time, keep reading, keep thinking, and keep forging your own story. Until next time, this is Mike Baines.